Hey everyone, welcome back to Brillianter. I know it's been a while since we did this series, but I hope to continue it again. Today we're doing episode 3 of Python Essentials, and we're going to be talking about for loops in Python and what they're used for and why we use them. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, first of all, let's understand the concept behind a for loop. What is a for loop in essence? So, a for loop is basically, as the name sounds, it's just a way to loop through something. So let me give you an example through code, and using that example, I can give you a better explanation as to what the for loop is used for. So as you can see, I have my VS Code pulled up here, and here we're just going to type in a couple lines of code, and it'll all make sense in just a second. So first we're going to type in for I in range of 10, we're going to print I. And if you remember from the previous episodes, the print command just is a way to display an output. And here we're going to be displaying the output of whatever I is. And you'll see just a second what I is supposed to be. So if you go ahead and run these two lines of code, if you look in the terminal below, that was pretty fast. It was almost instant. But as you can see, there's a bunch of lines with numbers, right? So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So basically, what this code is doing is we're taking the numbers in a range of 10. So 0 to 9, the number 0 to 9 is 10 numbers in total. And as you know, in most coding programs, the list indices, I should say, they start from 0. And likewise, in Python, the range function, unless you specify a different start point, it always starts at the number 0. So whenever you use the range function, unless you specify something else, the default is to start at the number 0. And so when we say for I in range 10, we actually mean start at 0 and go 10 numbers above that. So we start at 0 and we go up to 9, and in total 0 to 9 is 10 numbers. And that's why the function range 10 gives us numbers only up to 9. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So as you can see, that's why we get 0 to 9. So this for part, what does this for loop actually do? Well, basically, it's this thing called iteration. An iteration basically is just running through multiple steps or sequences. And basically what it's doing is we're saying for I in range 10, and basically we're specifying I to be some number within that range of 10 numbers. And as you can see, our range of numbers is 0 to 9. So I will be any one of these numbers from 0 to 9. So for I in range 10, it's going to start at the number 0. So I, on the first step of the iteration, the first step of this whole program, this whole code, I is going to be 0. So when we print I, the first step, we're actually printing 0 because I is equal to 0 on that first step. Then, since we have for I in range 10, until we print out 10 numbers, we're going to keep printing out something. And that's where that looping part comes in. That for loop is going to loop this command underneath it. So whatever's inside that for loop is going to be looped until the range, or however many loops we want it to have, stops. In this case, we want it to loop 10 times because we specified a range of 10. So that means this print command is going to run 10 times before we stop running it. And it doesn't just have to be this print command. I can also put in the command print hello, for example. So what this is going to do, if you go ahead and run it, it's going to print I, and it's also going to print hello. And it's going to do that 10 times because we have specified a range of 10. And after 10 times have been done, after 10 iterations have been completed, then our for loop stops and we stop running these two commands here. So let's go ahead and run this back again, just the print I command. And basically like I said before, right, it's going to start at 0 because on the first step, I is equal to 0. Then we're going to loop back, and on the second step, I is going to be equal to 1 because we're just going to go up by 1. So then I will equal 1, and we're going to print out I again, which in this case, on the second step, will equal 1. And we're going to keep repeating that process until we do 10 steps or 10 iterations, and that's going to leave us with the number 9 on the last step. And after that last step, we kick out of the loop and we go on to the rest of the code. In this case, we don't have more code, so our program just stops here. But if we did have more code, the program would keep running until the whole code is or has been completed. So for example, let's say I put in print hello, right? Except this time I don't put it inside the for loop. Now watch what happens. We're going to do the for loop, right? We're going to print I 10 times, and each time I is going to go up by 1. And so we're going to end off with the number 9. And then after the for loop has been completed, we kick out of that loop and we go to the next line of code, which is print hello. And that's why we get hello at the very end. So that's a little bit about for loops, and the reason we use them is to loop through a certain amount of commands. If we want to run a specific command or a specific set of commands multiple times, back to back or something like that, we're going to use a for loop to loop through a specific set of commands multiple times, and we can specify how many times we want to loop through those specific set of commands. So it's basically a way to set a specified range or a specified endpoint, and we can loop through as however many things as we want to until we reach that specific endpoint or specific range we gave that for loop. And so, yeah, hopefully this was a helpful video. Hopefully if you're new to Python, you could learn something here about for loops. I think next episode we can talk about while loops, which is basically similar to a for loop, except it has an unspecified range. And we'll get into that more next episode. So hopefully this helped out a little bit. Thank you for watching. I know it's been a while since we did these videos, but hopefully we can continue them back again now and get them much more consistently. So thank you all for watching, and we hope you stay tuned for the next one.